Hello everybody and welcome to PragMac. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be having a look at the 27-inch iMac 5K from Apple. It's been recently updated. There's some nice new specs and some nice new things to go over, and we're going to be having a look at that. Alongside that 27-inch 5K iMac, we're also going to be looking at the 21-inch offering from Apple, which comes with a 4K display. There's a big price difference between these two, and with that price difference, there's possibly a lot of value or maybe a lot of things you don't need. I wanted to break down the video for you guys today. We're going to be starting off with the 21-inch 4K display iMac, having a look at what the features are, what the specs are there. We'll be having a look at pricing, as well as what type of users are going to want the smaller 21-inch iMac. We're then going to go over the 27-inch iMac. We'll be looking at those specs, some of the updates that you get here for the 2020 version, recently updated here by Apple, as well as what kind of user is going to want the full power and the larger screen, as well as that 5K display. Before we get a little bit deeper here with the specs on the 21-inch iMac, I do want a point of clarity here, which when I refer to the 21-inch iMac, I really am referring to the 21.5-inch iMac. It's just that half an inch doesn't make a huge difference, so I've kind of knocked it off there for ease of me saying it throughout this video. You'll have to excuse me there. Looking at that 21.5-inch iMac, what do we get? Well, right away you'll notice the screen size is, well, small. 21-inch or 21.5 inches in today's world is fairly small. You'll notice that your typical monitor size that most people have in their homes is 22 inches on the small side, and a lot of people have 24-inch, 27-inch, or even 32-inch monitors. So there's nothing wrong with the 21.5-inch display size. Just do note it is going to be a little bit on the smaller side if you are used to having a larger monitor. If you're not used to having a larger monitor, it's a good size display. It's a good place to start, and it's a beautiful display. One thing that changed recently here for 2020 is Apple finally got rid of the Fusion drive as the standard default option when you're ordering the 21-inch iMac. Now it has a standard 256 gigabyte solid state drive. No more Fusion drive, just pure solid state. That's great. Even if it's only 256 gigabytes, you're going to be happier. You're not going to have those performance drops and those issues that a lot of people had with the past Fusion drives. If you're stuck on space, I would never recommend it for you, but there is still the 1 terabyte Fusion drive available, but I would steer clear from it. I don't think anybody needs this. Now that 21-inch display is a 4K display, and it's also a very bright display, coming in at a total of 500 nits of brightness. It also has the wide color gamut, or the P3 color gamut from Apple, allowing more colors to be displayed, more variances of the same color to be displayed. As for the processor, it comes with an 8th generation quad-core processor with very decent graphics. That is an Intel Core i3. It is clocked at 3.6 gigahertz, and that doesn't turbo boost. Now, that's not a big deal here. I think for the most part, again, with the configuration they're going for, quad core is more than capable, and an Intel Core i3 was the right way to go here. So you are still getting a very capable processor, even though it is an 8th generation processor, which you're gonna note here when we look at the 27-inch iMac that was recently updated. That one is going to be running a 10th generation Intel processor. When we're looking at memory or RAM, it comes with 8 gigabytes of DDR4 memory clocked at 2400 megahertz. Having 8 gigabytes of RAM is very standard. For some reference, 8 gigabytes of RAM should be enough to edit 4K video. It should also be more than enough RAM for day-to-day tasks, for having a few Safari tabs open and maybe some video playing in the background and some music. Having a look here at graphics, you get a Radeon Pro 555X with 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. It's a very capable graphics card to have, and it's nice that you have dedicated graphics on this machine. Some of the connectivity that you get with this desktop computer are a headphone jack, a memory card slot, 4 USB-A connections, 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C connections, and Gigabit Ethernet. Now, those 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports do have support for DisplayPort, Thunderbolt, USB-C 3.1 Generation 2, and support for Thunderbolt 2 as well. Now, that entire package here on the 21.5-inch iMac is available for $12.99. That's right, 4K display, dedicated graphics, 8th generation quad-core processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and plenty of connectivity, all for $12.99. That is a very tempting package. That is a very affordable package, at least in the Apple world. And remembering, even though it isn't the largest screen ever seen in a built-in computer or in a monitor, it is a beautiful screen. It has great brightness, great color reproduction abilities, and it's 4K. What more can you ask for? All right, keeping the smaller screen size in mind and the pricing there, we are going to jump up a bit and have a look at the 27-inch 5K model. All right, having a look at the 27-inch iMac, you get a 5K display, as we've gone over a few times here. It is the big selling point. You also get a more modern chipset with the 6-core 10th generation Intel Core i5 processor, clocking in at 3.1 gigahertz. It comes with a base 256 gigabyte SSD storage drive, and when we're looking at the graphics, it comes with a Radeon Pro 5300 with 4 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. One thing you may note is that it does only come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now that RAM is clocked in at 2666 megahertz, bringing up with significant speed over its 21-inch counterpart. As you'll note here in the description from Apple, is that only 2 of the slots are used up by Apple here to get the 8 gigabytes, and it is user accessible. So you are going to be able to access 2 of the DIMM slots and upgrade this RAM yourself, which is one of the value offerings in this particular model. The 21-inch iMac just does not allow for RAM upgradability. Specifically the 27-inch iMac, the DIMM slots are still user accessible. I think you might not even need a screwdriver, and you pop out the back and you can upgrade the RAM. There's a lot of tutorials of this online. I'm not going to go over it today, but that's one of the main draws here, is you can go out there and scale up your RAM later on. Now, what that means is you can go on Amazon, you can order your own RAM, you can get yourself some really good value, and you don't need to spend the money today. It's very strange to ever find an Apple computer nowadays anyway where you can upgrade anything yourself. So this is a big selling feature and really the main reason why I want everyone to consider the 27-inch iMac over the 21-inch iMac. There are some caveats to that statement. There are some people who are not going to want to buy the 27-inch iMac, mainly for what it costs and the fact that they're not going to get value out of it. It's probably too much computer for a lot of people. Quickly going over connectivity. When it comes to ports and such, it has the exact same port actually as the 21-inch model. You have headphone jack, memory card slot, 4 USB-A connections, 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C connections, and gigabit Ethernet. Nothing mind-blowing there. So let's have a deeper conversation about which model you want to purchase when you have both of these in front of you. Now, the main differentiating factor between these two is, of course, the screen size, but it's also the price. One costs $500 more than the other, and that $500 equals around 40% of the total price of the 21-inch 4K iMac. So what that really means is you need to spend 40% more just to get into the 27-inch iMac. You're going to want to break down that value for yourself. You're going to want to know if you really need to be spending that extra $500. In fact, in today's world with Apple, you can buy a lot for $500, including an iPhone. So when you start looking at the value proposition of the 27-inch iMac, it really comes down to, do you want the 5K display? And with that 5K display, do you want better graphics and more processing power? Are you going to use these things? And with all of those, are you going to want the ability to upgrade your own RAM down the road, or at least have a lot of value savings when you do upgrade that RAM? These are going to be the considerations to have, because if you don't need all this power, if you don't need a 5K display, if you just need a basic Mac, something that's fast and capable for today's world, looking for a Mac that just gets your day-to-day tasks done, well, I think that's where your 21.5-inch iMac is best serving. That's where you're going to get the most value out of that $12.99. Now, when you start thinking about upgrading something, changing something on this $12.99 model because it doesn't serve your purposes, automatically that should kick you into the 27-inch iMac category. Because once you realize that you want to be upgrading things, well, you're going to want to upgrade that RAM. And as soon as you pay Apple to upgrade that RAM, you lose a lot of value. Just to sum things up here and looking at that value proposition, I do think that the 5K model, the 27-inch iMac, recently updated here in 2020, is worth the extra $500. I think that the 5K display alone and the video card upgrade are worth $500. You also get the better RAM and you get the 10th generation Intel chipset. So there's a lot of value there. I think it's worth the $500 if you're going to be using it. Well, I hope that's been a little bit helpful for you guys today. I hope I've brought some clarity along maybe who would actually buy a 21.5-inch iMac versus the 27-inch iMac, the 5K display. If you found this video interesting or useful in any way, please do subscribe to the channel. Please give it a like. Leave a comment down below. Any feedback is good feedback. Thanks again, everybody, and thank you for joining me today on PragMac. I hope it's been a blast.